Sometimes we don't marry a person, we marry a pattern, and that pattern becomes our lifelong regret. You know what's tragic? Most people see the warning signs early on, but they convince themselves it'll get better or that love is supposed to hurt a little. No, that's the first lie. And it's the lie that traps people in marriages, that drain their joy, their confidence, and their sense of self. There are people who will walk into your life like a beautiful storm, loud, exciting, intoxicating. But storms don't build homes, they destroy them. And if you marry someone who lacks empathy, accountability, or emotional maturity, you are signing up for a future of confusion, anxiety, and constant self-doubt. You don't regret marrying someone overnight. Regret grows slowly through broken promises, inconsistent behavior, and the silent kind of loneliness that only exists when you're with the wrong person. And today I want to talk about the exact types of people who create that regret so you can avoid them now before the damage becomes permanent. Because your future deserves peace, not punishment, and your heart deserves a partner, not a project. Emotional blindness is one of the most dangerous states a person can be in when choosing a life partner. And the irony is, you rarely notice it while you're inside it. It feels warm, familiar, comforting, like a soft fog that protects you from the truth you're not ready to face. You convince yourself that love requires sacrifice. That patience will fix everything, that maybe you're expecting too much. And in that exact moment, you stop seeing what's right in front of you. You stop hearing your own voice. You stop choosing yourself. Emotional blindness is not about being foolish. It's about being human. It's about wanting love so deeply. You ignore the signs that this person is incapable of giving it in a healthy way. And the dangerous part is how quietly it happens. You don't wake up one morning and say, I'll ignore every red flag. It starts with small excuses you make for their behavior. Just tired. They didn't mean it that way. Everyone has flaws. And of course, everyone does have flaws, but not everyone has the kind of flaws that can destroy your peace, your worth, and your future. Emotional blindness grows in the gaps created by fear, fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of not finding someone better. That fear becomes louder than your intuition, louder than your boundaries, louder than your reality. You start thinking, maybe this is as good as it gets. And that single belief traps more people in painful marriages than anything else. Because once you believe that you can't do better, you stop demanding better. You start accepting the bare minimum as affection, inconsistency as passion, and disrespect as a personality trait you must tolerate. Emotional blindness convinces you that you're lucky to have what you have, even if what you have is hurting you. And let's be honest, sometimes loneliness can make the wrong person look right. When someone finally gives you attention, even if it's inconsistent, it feels like a lifeline. You cling to the moments they treat you well, forgetting the countless moments they don't. You replay the good days like a highlight reel, ignoring the fact that their bad days define your entire emotional landscape. This is how people end up marrying someone who shows them glimpses of love instead of the reality of partnership. But you stay because you keep hoping the glimpse is the truth and the reality is just a phase. Emotional blindness is powerful because it doesn't feel like blindness. It feels like hope. It feels like commitment. It feels like loyalty. You tell yourself things will change once we're married, not realizing that marriage magnifies everything, both the good and the bad. If they're inconsistent now, they'll be unpredictable later. If they lack emotional maturity now, they'll drain you later. If they dismiss your feelings now, they'll silence you later. And by the time you finally see clearly, you're already deep inside a bond that demands more from you than it ever gives back. Chemistry can make your heart race, but character determines whether your heart will stay safe. And this is where so many people make the biggest mistake of their lives. They confuse intensity with intimacy, passion with compatibility, and excitement with emotional safety. You meet someone who makes you feel alive, someone who knows exactly what to say, someone whose presence feels electric, and suddenly you're convinced this must be love. But listen closely, chemistry can pull you in fast. But character is what holds a relationship together when those sparks fade, and they always fade. The problem is when we're caught up in desire and attraction, we rarely slow down long enough to ask the questions that actually matter. Not, do they make me feel butterflies? But do they make me feel at peace? Not, are they charming, but are they consistent? Not, do they say the right things, but do they do the right things even when no one is watching? People get married because the connection feels magical, but they end up regretting it because the character was missing. And you can hide a lot of things in the beginning. You can hide impatience, selfishness, dynasty, and even emotional immaturity. But marriage exposes everything. It magnifies every flaw, amplifies every inconsistency, and tests every value. Chemistry might make you fall for someone, but character is what determines whether you can build a life with them without losing yourself. So many people fall for charm because charm is easy. Charm is surface level. Charm is a mask, but character is who a person truly is when life gets hard, when things go wrong, when stress hits, when disappointment shows up. Character is revealed in the way someone handles responsibility, conflict, commitment, and respect. And if those qualities are missing, no amount of attraction will save you. But here's the trap. Chemistry feels urgent. It tells you If you don't hold on to this person right now, you'll lose them. It creates this illusion of rarity, this idea that what you're feeling is so special that it's worth ignoring the discomfort, the doubts, the little moments that make you pause. You get swept into the emotional high. And before you know it, you're choosing a future based on a feeling rather than a foundation. And later you realize that the same person who made your heart race now makes your life stressful. The same intensity that felt addictive now feels exhausting. The same charm that once impressed you now feels manipulative or inconsistent. This is how regret begins, quietly, gradually, predictably. Character, on the other hand, may not always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it looks simple, steady, even ordinary. But it's the kind of ordinary that builds trust, the kind of ordinary that protects your emotions, the kind of ordinary that makes a home feel peaceful instead of chaotic. When you choose someone for their character, you're choosing long-term stability over short-term excitement. You're choosing a partner who will grow with, support you, and respect you through every season of life. And here's the truth you need to hear. The spark may start a relationship, but it's character that keeps the flame alive without burning you in the process. There are certain subtle behaviors people ignore in the beginning because they seem too small to matter, yet these are the very patterns that predict lifelong regret. These behaviors don't show up dramatically. They show up quietly in small moments that you brush off, in gestures you excuse, in tones you tell yourself not to overthink. But these little things are never little. They are early warning signs of how this person will treat you when life gets real, when the honeymoon phase fades, when comfort replaces effort. And if you pay attention, you'll see everything you need to know long before marriage even enters the picture. So stay with me, because what I'm about to explain might save you years of emotional damage. One of the first signs is inconsistency. Not the obvious kind, but the subtle version, the kind where they are warm one day and distant the next, attentive today and indifferent tomorrow. You find yourself confused, wondering which version is real, and every time you bring it up, they act as if you're imagining things. This creates a silent cycle where you begin to question your own perception, your own needs, your own emotional reality. That confusion becomes the seed of regret because it trains you to accept unpredictability as normal. Another subtle behavior is emotional laziness. You'll notice it when you're the one initiating conversations, solving problems, planning everything, apologizing first, or trying to fix the relationship alone. They don't say anything cruel. They don't argue much. They simply don't try. This lack of effort feels harmless at first, especially if you're someone who naturally gives. But later, it becomes a crushing weight because you realize you've built an entire emotional life around someone who never planned to reciprocate. Then there's the quiet dismissiveness, the way they brush off your feelings with a joke, the way they act annoyed when you express a need, the way they make you feel dramatic for wanting basic respect. You start shrinking your emotions to keep the peace. You start editing yourself. You start learning how to be small so they don't get uncomfortable. And here's the painful truth. The moment you begin shrinking is the moment the relationship starts growing into something you will eventually regret. Another subtle behavior is how they treat others. Watch how they speak to waiters, how they react when someone makes a mistake, how they behave when things don't go their way. A person who is kind only when it benefits them will eventually turn that coldness towards you. A person who lacks empathy for others will one day lack empathy for your pain. These things don't change after marriage, they intensify. And perhaps the biggest pattern people overlook is how conflict is handled. Do they shut down instead of talking? Do they blame instead of understanding? Do they turn every issue into your fault? These behaviors, even in their smallest form, are the foundation of a future where communication becomes warfare and emotional safety becomes a memory, because marriage does not magically fix these patterns. It exposes them, amplifies them, and traps you in the consequences of the very signs you once ignored. Walking away early is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but it's also one of the most powerful acts of self-protection you'll ever choose. Most people don't leave because the relationship is unbearably bad. They leave because they finally realize it's quietly killing their peace. And yet so many ignore that realization. They stay hoping time will fix what time has only made more obvious. But listen closely. The courage to walk away early is the courage to save your future self from years of emotional exhaustion. It's not about giving up. It's about refusing to settle for a life that drains you more than it grows you. And if you're listening right now, stay with me, because this is the moment where many people either lose themselves forever or reclaim their power. Walking away early requires clarity, and clarity isn't loud. It doesn't come with explosions or dramatic endings. It comes in quiet moments when you're lying awake at night realizing you haven't smiled genuinely in weeks, when you're sitting next to someone and still feeling painfully alone, when every conversation feels like a negotiation for basic respect. Those moments whisper the truth you don't want to hear. This will not get better. And the problem is, we don't walk away because the person is terrible. We walk away because the relationship is unsustainable. But humans hold on. We give second chances, 10th chances, endless chances because we're afraid of the what ifs. But the real what if you should fear is this: What if staying ruins me long before it ruins the relationship? People stay because they're afraid of starting over, but starting over is not the enemy. Staying stuck is. Starting over means new possibilities, new lessons, new opportunities for real companionship. Staying stuck means repeating the same arguments, feeling the same loneliness, carrying the same disappointment year after year. And here's the truth nobody likes to admit. Walking away early hurts for a short time. Staying too long hurts for a lifetime. Courage isn't loud bravery. Sometimes it's quiet, steady self-respect. It's recognizing that your value doesn't decrease just because someone else fails to see it. It's choosing to protect your emotional well-being even when your heart wants to hold on. It's understanding that compatibility isn't created through suffering. Many people believe that if they just stay long enough, sacrifice enough, or love hard enough, everything will magically fall into place. But relationships don't transform because of endurance. They transform because both people grow, give, and choose each other consistently. If only one person is doing that, you're not in a relationship, you're in emotional labor, and no one deserves to spend their life working that hard just to feel seen. Walking away early is choosing the pain that heals over the pain that destroys. It's reclaiming your future before someone else's behavior defines it. It's saying more than this, even when every fear inside you is begging you to stay comfortable. And the moment you walk away, truly walk away, something incredible happens. You don't just save your future, you save yourself. Choosing with self-respect is not just a decision, it's a declaration, the kind of life you're willing to live and the kind you refuse to tolerate. When you start valuing your peace over pressure, fantasy, or fear, everything about the way you choose a partner begins to shift. You stop looking for someone who simply fills a void, and you start looking for someone who aligns with your emotional well-being. And this mindset, this intentional way of choosing, protects you from the kind of marriages that lead to lifelong regret. Stay with me, because this is the turning point where people elevate their standards or keep repeating the same heartbreaking cycle. Mindful choosing begins with understanding that love should never cost you your self-worth. You can admire someone, desire someone, even feel deeply connected to someone, but if being with them disturbs your peace, disrespects your boundaries, or makes you feel smaller, that connection is not love, it's attachment. Many people enter relationships hoping the other person will fill their loneliness, fix their wounds, or validate their identity. But here's the truth. When you choose someone from a place of emptiness, you overlook everything that should concern you. You see potential instead of patterns. You see what you want them to be instead of who they actually are. And that's how people end up married to a version of a person that only existed in their imagination. Self-respect means choosing someone who matches your effort, not just your emotions. Someone who listens with intention, shows up with consistency, and respects your boundaries without making you feel guilty for having them. It means choosing someone who doesn't make you question your worth every time there's a disagreement, someone who doesn't use silence as punishment, someone who doesn't make you feel like you're asking for too much when all you want is basic emotional presence. Relationships built on mutual respect feel easier, not because they're perfect, but because both people care enough to protect each other's emotional safety. Mindful choosing also means understanding the difference between being wanted and being valued. Being wanted can be temporary, can come from attraction, convenience, or timing, but being valued, truly valued, comes from who you are as a person. It comes from someone seeing your heart, your integrity, and your worth and choosing to treat it with care. And if someone cannot value you consistently, you must have enough self-respect to walk away before their behavior becomes your normal. People often settle because they fear missing out on love. But the real fear should be marrying someone who damages your peace for the next 50 years. When you choose with self-respect, you're not being picky or difficult. You're being protective of your future. You're refusing to hand your life, your energy, and your dreams to someone who has not proven they can hold them responsibly. And the more you honor your own dignity, the easier it becomes to recognize who deserves a place in your life and who doesn't. Choosing with self-respect and intention isn't arrogance, it's wisdom. It's the quiet, powerful understanding that the right partner will never require you to abandon yourself in order to be loved.